everybody. So from either the title of the video or from the stack of books here, you can probably tell I am doing a book haul today. As I have mentioned in my last video, I was planning on filming one soon. There's only 8 books up there, so it's not going to be a huge haul today, but I will go through all of the books that I have gotten recently. The first book here is The Nightmare Affair by Mindy Arnett. And this is a book about a young girl named Dusty, and she is literally a nightmare. And she goes to this boarding school called Arkwell Academy, and it is a school for magical creatures. So I'm pretty excited to read this book because I love the paranormal, and the fact that she's a nightmare is really different because normally the books that you see about the paranormal tend to stick to like vampires or werewolves or fairies, and the fact that she's a nightmare and it's about a school full of magical creatures, I'm really hoping to see some non-typical creatures getting some love. So I'm really excited to read this. It is probably going to be the book that I start next. The next one is The Runaway King by Jennifer A. Nilsson, and this is the sequel to The False Prince, and this is more of a middle grade series, but there's really no reason why YA lovers can't pick it up and read it as well. And The False Prince, so the covers are pretty similar, which I really appreciate. They look the same on the shelf, that's always a good thing. But the series is about a young boy, what was his name? Jaren, and he's an orphan, and there's this competition in the first book that's going on, where he's competing against other orphans for this big prize, which you can find out if you read the book, but you can probably guess from the title. So this is the sequel. I really loved The False Prince, so I'm excited to read this one. And I like the fact that it's green, and it's kind of a bright green, because a lot of the spines and covers of the books that I own tend to go more towards darker colors. So I like the brightness of it. And St. Patrick's Day also just passed, so it fit right in. And this is another bright one. Let the Sky Fall by Shannon Messenger. So that one's really bright, and it really stands out on the shelf if you look at it, especially on this shelf, because there's a lot of dark books on this shelf. So this book is about a young boy named Vane, and him and his family are in a Category 5 tornado, and he survives, but he doesn't really know how. All he really remembers is this girl, and that girl is what they call an air sylph. She's an air elemental. She's got the power to control air, and she's Vane's guardian. So that sounds really interesting. I'm not quite sure what it's going to be like. I've heard some bad things about this book, but I've also heard some good things about this book. So I'm hoping that I'm going to like it, because it sounds pretty different from what I'm used to. And the next book is Unremembered by Jessica Brody. And this book is about a young girl named Serafina, and there's a plane crash, and she doesn't remember her life before the plane crash. She doesn't remember pretty much anything of how she's come to be the only survivor from the plane crash, and how she doesn't really have a scratch on her. Was she really on the plane? And then there's this boy who claims that he knows who she is. So whether there's romance in the book with this boy, or whether he's kind of a lying scumbag, I guess I'll have to read and see. And there is The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. And this has to do with a girl named Ruby, and whenever she was 10, I think it says. 10, on her 10th birthday. There's this disease that's wiping away America's children, but she's one of the ones to survive. And if they survive, they end up with these powers. So she gets sent to this camp called Thermod? Something like that. It's a brutal government rehabilitation camp. So that sounds quite interesting, and she escapes and meets up with some other kids that have escaped their own camps, and they're kind of running from the government. So whether the government wants to kind of control their powers or use their powers, or whether or not the government wants to get rid of their powers, I don't know. But I'm going to find out whenever I read it. Then we got Milla 2.0 by Deborah Drza. And the main character in this book, Mila, or Milla, I'm not 100% sure how you would pronounce that, but she was made in a lab, and this book is being described as kind of a YA Born Identity type series, and I really did like the Born Identity, so I'm excited to read this one. And then there's Requiem by Lauren Oliver, which is the last book. I think it's the last book. I haven't heard that they extended the series, but there's Delirium, Pandemonium, and then Requiem. And this is a dystopian about a world where love is a disease and the government has decided to cure it. And the main character, Lena, falls in love before her days are up and before she gets the cure. It's a very popular series. A lot of you have probably already either read it or at least heard of it. I've heard that it's being turned into a television show, which is a little bit different these days because most things seem to be being turned into movies, or at least the movie rights are being bought. So maybe a television show is the way to go. Who knows? It should be quite interesting to see how they make that into a television show. Then the last book is The Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare, and it's the last book in the Infernal Devices, or book 3 of the Infernal Devices. There's The Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, and Clockwork Princess, and this is a spin-off series from the Mortal Instruments, which is City of Bones, City of Ashes, City of Glass, City of Fallen Angels, and City of Lost Souls. And yes, I just cheated and looked over there where the books are, because that's a lot of titles to remember. But it's another series, or at least for the Mortal Instruments, where the first book, The City of Bones, is being turned into a movie this summer. I've seen the previews. The previews look pretty good. Hopefully the movie will be good. I've enjoyed the series so far, so hopefully I will continue enjoying the series. But this is a pretty big book. That looks like it might be over 500 pages. Yes, it is way over 500 pages. So this will probably end up being a summer read by the time, or maybe not even then, because I've got a lot of this series to read first. But I'll get around to it eventually. That is one of my goals for this summer, actually, is to finish a lot of the series that I have. Because there's not a whole lot of series that I can say that I have actually finished. But I guess my thoughts are more, I don't want to end up reading the second book of a trilogy and have it end up as a cliffhanger and then have to wait an entire year, because that aggravates me. I love cliffhangers, but I don't like the waiting. So there's a lot of series that are ending this year, so I'm really going to get on it and finish a lot of series. That is my goal for the summer. My other goal is, I believe I mentioned in an earlier video that I really want to read more contemporary books. It was actually one of the goals that I set myself at the beginning of the year, and I've gotten a fair bit into my challenge of 10 contemporary books for the year. I am planning on upping that to probably 20. But the problem is finding contemporary books that are appealing to me, because I am so obsessed with the paranormal that it is so much easier for me to pick up a paranormal book or a dystopian book or something that is just pretty much not strictly contemporary, that the contemporary books kind of fall to the side, and I'm trying to stop doing that because there are a lot of good contemporary books out there. If you've got any recommendations for contemporary books, or just contemporary books that you absolutely loved, I would love to hear which ones are your favorites and which ones I should be reading. So I guess that's all for now. My next video, I'm not quite sure what it will be. I am planning on doing a Q&A video coming up soon. So if you've got any questions or comments, put them either down below, tweet them, or I'll include an email address down below as well, because if you don't have Twitter or a YouTube account, I don't know if you can actually leave a comment. So if you have a question and you don't have any accounts, just send an email question and I will reply to as many as possible. Most of them will probably be video. Depends on how many I get and the length of time, but I will try and answer all of them, even if they don't make it into a video. And then there's also going to be a giveaway coming up because I'm almost at 100 subscribers and I want to do something to say thank you guys. So look for that as well. So that's all for now, and I'll see everybody next time.